Luna had spent her entire life living in the comfortable sky cities of the elf civilization, where everything was peaceful and orderly. The elves had built their society high above most worlds, floating in the clouds and among the stars. For 300 years they had avoided any conflict with other species. They had made rules that kept them safe and separated from the chaos of the universe. Luna's family was one of the most respected in her city. Her parents served as council members, and they expected her to follow the same path of safety and tradition. But Luna was different from other elf women. She felt something burning inside her, a desire to see what lay beyond the protective barriers of her people. One day, Luna discovered something that changed her life forever. She found an old message hidden in her grandmother's archive, a message from centuries ago warning about a threat that would one day come to destroy all living things in the galaxy. The message spoke of a great darkness, of creatures called the Krell who fed on destruction and death. The message also mentioned something else, something that made Luna's heart race. It spoke of ancient dragons, creatures of power and magic that had once fought alongside the first humans to protect the galaxy from this very threat. Luna knew she could not share this discovery with her people. The council would dismiss it as old legend and mythology. They would tell her that such things were not real, that the age of dragons had passed long ago. But Luna believed. She believed because she felt it in her bones, because something deep inside her knew that this ancient message was true. She began to research everything she could find about dragons and about the Krell threat. She studied in secret, reading old texts and ancient records that most elves had forgotten. When Luna learned that the humans were gathering their fleets to prepare for some unknown danger, she knew what she had to do. She had to find evidence that the old stories were real. She had to find the dragons. Luna told her family that she wanted to explore the outer regions for scientific research. It was not entirely a lie. She was searching for something, even if they did not understand what. Her parents were not entirely happy with her decision, but they allowed her to take one of the explorer ships and leave for a year of research. Luna flew her small ship away from the safety of the elf cities and out toward the forbidden sectors of space where elves never went. She traveled for weeks through empty space, following the ancient maps and coordinates she had found in her grandmother's records. She was searching for a moon called Crystalline 7, a place that had not been visited by any elf in thousands of years. The old record said that dragons had once made their nests there, and that the caves held secrets from the earliest days of the galaxy. When Luna finally found the moon, her heart almost stopped. The surface was covered in crystal formations that caught the light of the nearby star and reflected it back in 1,000 different colors. It was the most beautiful place Luna had ever seen. She landed her ship carefully in a clearing surrounded by tall crystal spires. Then she took her environmental suit and began to explore the caves that covered the moon's surface. It took her 3 days of searching before she found it, the chamber where the ancient dragons had lived. The cave was enormous, carved from crystal and stone that seemed to have been shaped by careful hands over thousands of years. In the center of the chamber, Luna found something that made her forget to breathe. There were 2 eggs, massive eggs larger than any living creature Luna had ever seen, sitting on a bed of soft crystals that glowed with gentle light. Luna approached the eggs slowly, carefully, afraid that any sudden movement might destroy whatever magic had kept them preserved for so long. As she got closer, the eggs began to glow brighter. They were still alive. Somehow, after all these thousands of years, the dragon eggs were still alive. Luna reached out and touched the first egg. The moment her hand made contact with the smooth, warm surface, she felt something incredible happen inside her mind and heart. The egg began to show her images. Luna saw the old world before the elves had built their sky cities, when dragons flew freely across the planets and stars. She saw humans and dragons working together, flying side by side, fighting against enemies that tried to destroy everything. She saw the Krell Empire attacking, saw entire worlds burning, saw the desperate struggle to survive. Then she saw the moment when the dragons made their sacrifice. They hid their last eggs, the last hope for their species, in the safest place they could find, waiting for the day when someone would find them and need them again. Luna pulled her hand away from the egg, tears streaming down her face. She understood now why her grandmother had left that message. Her family had always known about the dragons. They had been the ones entrusted with protecting the location of the last eggs, waiting for the moment when the galaxy would need the dragons to return. Luna had always wondered why her grandmother seemed so sad before she died. Now she knew. Her grandmother had been waiting for someone like Luna to be born, someone brave enough and different enough to accept this responsibility. Luna spent the next week on the moon, preparing the chamber and making sure the eggs would be safe. She installed a small energy generator that would keep the chamber warm and stable. She set up monitoring equipment that would alert her if anything went wrong. Then she waited, watching the eggs carefully, knowing that it would not be long before they hatched. She felt connected to them now, through the bond that had formed when she touched the first egg. On the 8th day, the first crack appeared in the larger egg. Luna held her breath as the crack grew as the egg began to break apart. A small head emerged, covered in wet scales that shimmered with silver and blue light. The baby dragon looked directly at Luna, and in that moment, Luna felt the bond between them become even stronger. Like nothing else mattered in the universe except this connection. The second egg cracked open an hour later. This baby dragon was smaller, with scales that gleamed golden red. Luna watched as the two dragons struggled out of their shells, their tiny wings unfurling for the first time. She brought them water and food from her ship, and they drank and ate with the hunger of newborn creatures. Luna named the silver and blue dragon Vera, because she appeared strong and true from her first breath. She named the golden red dragon Iris because her eyes seemed to hold all the colors of a rainbow sunset. As Luna watched her new companions, she made a decision that would change her life and the fate of the entire galaxy. She would not return to her people and tell them about the dragons. She would keep this discovery secret. She would raise Vera and Iris, would train them, and would prepare them for the role that fate seemed to have chosen for them. Luna knew that difficult times were coming to the galaxy. She could feel it in the air, in the ancient messages from the past, in the warnings that her grandmother had left behind. When those difficult times arrived, the dragons would be ready, and Luna would be ready too. 6 months had passed since Luna discovered the dragons on Crystalline 7. In that time, Vera and Iris had grown from tiny creatures to massive beings larger than Luna's entire ship. Their wings had expanded to enormous sizes, and their power had increased in ways that Luna was still discovering. Every day brought new surprises. Vera could now breathe fire so hot that it melted stone. Iris had learned to move so fast through the air that she seemed to disappear and reappear in different places. Luna had converted her explorer ship into a home for all three of them. She had removed many of the scientific equipment and replaced it with comfortable spaces where the dragons could rest and sleep. She had learned how to read the dragons' minds through their bond, understanding their needs and desires. The dragons understood her too. When Luna felt fear or sadness, Vera and Iris would come to her and press their heads against her, offering comfort in their own special way. But Luna also knew that she could not hide forever. The galaxy was changing. Strange reports were coming from the outer regions of space. Ships were disappearing. Entire colonies were going silent. Luna had received several messages through the elf communication network, warning that something dangerous was moving through the galaxy. The messages spoke of a vast fleet approaching from the dark regions beyond the known stars. Many people believed it was just a rumor, but Luna knew better. She knew that the old warnings from her grandmother were becoming reality. One morning, Luna received a message that changed everything. It came from the Human Space Command, broadcast across all frequencies and all civilizations. The message was from a commander named Victoria, and it spoke of a terrible threat. The Krell Empire was coming. They had already destroyed several human outposts and were building their forces for a major attack. Commander Victoria was calling for help from any civilization that could provide it. The message was desperate and honest. The humans were asking for an alliance, for help from anyone who believed that standing together was better than standing alone. Luna listened to the message 3 times. She knew what she had to do. She had been hiding, keeping herself and the dragons safe and comfortable, but that had never been her true purpose. Her purpose was to help. Her purpose was to stand with the humans against the darkness that was coming. She began preparing her ship immediately. She loaded it with weapons and supplies. She made sure that Vera and Iris had enough rest for the journey ahead. The dragons seemed to understand what was happening. They moved around the ship with purpose and energy, as if they too felt the call to action. Luna spoke to them, explaining her thoughts and her plans. Through their bond, the dragons shared their own feelings. They were ready. They had been waiting for this moment since the day they hatched. Everything in their lives had been preparation for what was coming. Luna set the coordinates for the human fleet and began the long journey through space. As she flew, she watched the news broadcasts coming from the human channels. The situation was becoming more urgent. The Krell fleet had destroyed 3 more outposts. Human forces were gathering at a place called Station 9, the last major human stronghold in the region. That was where Luna was heading. That was where she and the dragons would join the fight. During the journey, Luna spent hours training with Vera and Iris. She taught them to work together as a team, to understand each other's movements without speaking. She taught them advanced flight patterns and combat strategies that she had discovered in the ancient dragon texts she had found in her grandmother's records. Vera learned to coordinate with Iris so that their combined firepower could destroy multiple targets at once. Iris learned to use her superior speed to distract enemies while Vera attacked from unexpected angles. Luna also taught the dragons how to interact with humans. She knew that the first time people saw them, they would be afraid. She trained Vera and Iris to move slowly and carefully around humans, to show their peaceful intentions before revealing their power. The dragons were intelligent creatures, far more intelligent than most humans realized. They understood what Luna was teaching them, and they accepted her guidance. As Luna's ship approached human space, she began to see signs of the battle that was already happening. There were destroyed ships floating in space, evidence of fierce combat. There were human fighters moving in groups, trying to protect the station from repeated Krell attacks. Luna's heart rate increased as she realized how close the danger was. The Krell were not some distant threat anymore. They were here, they were fighting, and they were winning. Luna sent a message to the human command center identifying herself as an elf explorer with important information about the threat. To her surprise, the response came quickly. A human controller named Patricia welcomed her to Station 9 and instructed her to land in the designated zone. Patricia seemed curious about what an elf would be doing so far from her people's territory, but she asked no questions. She simply gave Luna the landing coordinates and told her to report to Commander Victoria immediately. When Luna's ship landed in the bay, she could see human soldiers moving around, checking weapons, preparing for battle. They looked tired and scared, but they also looked determined. They looked like people who knew they were facing something difficult but refused to give up. Luna felt respect for them in that moment. She understood why her grandmother had believed that humans were worth protecting. Luna walked out of her ship with Vera and Iris following close behind her. The moment the dragons stepped into the landing bay, every human soldier in the area froze. They stared in complete shock and wonder. Some reached for their weapons before stopping themselves. Unsure how to react to creatures so large and so powerful, Luna moved forward calmly and deliberately, showing no fear, showing the soldiers that these dragons were not enemies. Patricia appeared from a doorway and walked straight toward Luna without hesitation. The human controller extended her hand in greeting and Luna took it. Patricia smiled and said she was glad to see reinforcements arriving. She seemed to accept the dragons as if massive flying creatures appeared at the station every day. Luna appreciated her calm response. It told her that Patricia was someone who understood that desperate times required unusual allies. Patricia led Luna through the station toward Commander Victoria's command center. As they walked, other soldiers stopped and stared at the dragons. Luna heard whispers and expressions of amazement spreading through the corridors. She knew that word would spread quickly through the station. An elf woman had arrived with 2 dragons to help them fight against the Krell. The effect on human morale would be significant. People would begin to believe that perhaps they had a chance after all. Commander Victoria stood in the command center, surrounded by screens showing the positions of human ships and Krell vessels. Her face was lined with exhaustion and worry. She had been fighting this battle for weeks, watching her forces shrink day by day as the Krell slowly overwhelmed her defenses. But when she saw Luna walk into her command center followed by 2 massive dragons, something changed in her expression. She stood up from her chair and walked forward with a look of amazement and hope. Victoria extended her hand to Luna in greeting, and Luna took it firmly. The human commander was tall and strong with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much of the galaxy's suffering, but those eyes also held something that Luna recognized immediately. They held courage. Victoria looked at the dragons with a mix of wonder and calculation, trying to understand what had just arrived at her station. Luna spoke in simple words, choosing her language carefully. She told Victoria that she was an elf from the peaceful sky cities, and that she had brought the dragons to help humanity fight against the Krell. She explained that the dragons were powerful warriors who could move through space without ships, who could breathe fire that could burn through Krell defenses, and who would stand beside the human fleet. Victoria listened carefully, asking questions about the dragon's abilities and their limitations. Luna answered every question honestly, explaining what Vera and Iris could do and what they could not do. Victoria studied Luna for a long moment, then smiled. The human commander said that she had been hoping for a miracle, and perhaps the universe had just delivered one. But she warned Luna that this battle would be difficult, that the Krell were not easy enemies to fight. They were smart, they were ruthless, and they had been winning the war. Victoria wanted to make sure that Luna and her dragons understood what they were agreeing to face. Luna nodded and told Victoria that she understood completely. She had come to Station 9 knowing that danger awaited. She had come knowing that there was a chance that she and the dragons might not survive, but she had come anyway because it was the right thing to do. She had come because her grandmother had taught her that the strong should protect the weak, and that no civilization could stand alone against the darkness. Victoria brought Luna to a map table and began to explain the military situation. The Krell fleet was larger than the human fleet, more powerful in almost every way. The humans had been trying to hold their ground, trying to keep the Krell from reaching the inhabited worlds beyond. But with each passing day, the situation grew worse. The humans had lost 3 ships in the last week alone. If something did not change soon, the Krell would break through the human defenses and move into the inner systems where billions of people lived. Victoria's strategy was to use the dragons as a surprise weapon. She would hold them in reserve until a critical moment when the battle was turning against humanity. Then she would release Vera and Iris to strike at the Krell fleet, hoping that their power would be enough to turn the tide. Luna accepted this plan, but she also suggested something else. She offered to fly her ship alongside the human fleet, to work with human pilots to coordinate attacks that would be more effective than simple surprises. The 2 women began to work together, developing a plan for the upcoming battle. They discussed firing patterns and defensive positions. They talked about how to use the dragons most effectively. As they worked, Victoria shared stories about the human struggle against the Krell. She told Luna about the colonies that had been destroyed, about the thousands of people who had died. Luna listened and felt the weight of human suffering pressing down on her heart. That night, Luna was shown to a quarters where she could rest. Vera and Iris settled into a large hangar that Victoria had cleared for them, much to the amazement of the human soldiers who watched the process. Luna tried to sleep, but her mind was full of thoughts and worries. She thought about her parents back in the Sky Cities. She wondered if they had received her last message. She wondered if they understood why she had to leave, why she could not simply live a comfortable life in her safe world while others suffered. In the darkness of her quarters, Luna felt her connection to Vera and Iris across the station. The dragons were restless, and they were excited. Through their bond, Luna could feel their emotions clearly. They were ready for battle. They had been born for this moment. They had been waiting through thousands of years for this time when they would finally be needed. Early the next morning, alarms began to sound throughout Station 9. The Krell fleet was approaching faster than expected. Victoria called Luna to the command center immediately. They watched the radar screens as the massive Krell vessels moved toward them. There were more of them than any human had predicted. The Krell had brought reinforcements, and they were bringing them all for this final assault. Victoria looked at Luna and asked if she was ready. Luna told her yes. Victoria contacted the Dragon hangar and gave the order to prepare Vera and Iris for immediate launch. Within minutes, the 2 dragons were in the launch bay, ready for combat. Luna took her position in her small explorer ship, which had been fitted with additional weapons by the human engineers. The human fleet began to move into defensive positions as the Krell ships came into weapons range. The first shots of the battle lit up the darkness of space. Human ships fired their weapons at the approaching Krell vessels. The Krell fired back, with weapons of energy and power that seemed to come from some ancient and terrible source. Explosions filled the void as ships clashed and fought. Victoria gave the signal, and Luna launched her ship toward the Krell fleet. Vera and Iris launched at the same moment, their wings spreading wide, their bodies moving with perfect grace through the vacuum of space. As they flew, Luna felt the connection between herself and the dragons grow even stronger. They were moving as one unit now, their thoughts and intentions connected through the ancient bond that had formed when Luna first touched their eggs. The first Krell ships that encountered the dragons did not stand a chance. Vera and Iris moved with such speed and power that the Krell vessels could not track them effectively. Vera breathed fire that burned through Krell shields. Iris used her superior speed to destroy weapon systems before they could be fired. Luna's ship moved through the chaos of battle, using her elf knowledge and quick reflexes to find targets and eliminate them. The human fleet, seeing the dragons strike with such power and precision, began to advance. The morale of the human soldiers jumped dramatically. They could see that the Krell were not invincible. They could see that with the dragons and the elf woman fighting alongside them, they had a real chance to win this battle. The battle raged for hours. Luna and her dragons fought with everything they had, moving from one Krell vessel to another, destroying weapon systems and shields. But as the hours passed, Luna began to realize something troubling. For every Krell ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to appear to take its place. The Krell had more forces than anyone had predicted. They seemed to have unlimited reinforcements waiting somewhere beyond the edge of human sensor range. Luna sent a message to Victoria through the human communication system. She told the commander that the current strategy would not work. They were winning individual battles, but they were losing the overall war. They needed to do something different. They needed to strike at the heart of the Krell operation. They needed to find and destroy the Krell command ship. Victoria understood what Luna was suggesting. If they could destroy the command ship, they might be able to break the Krell formation. The Krell seemed to operate under a central intelligence system, a command structure that coordinated all their operations. Destroying that structure might give the humans the advantage they needed, but finding the command ship would be extremely dangerous. The Krell would protect it with their strongest forces, their best weapons, their most powerful ships. Luna told Victoria that she had studied the ancient texts about dragon warfare. She told her that the dragons had a technique that might work. If Luna and the dragons could move fast enough, if they could coordinate perfectly, they might be able to reach the Krell command ship before the Krell could prepare an adequate defense. But it was risky. Very risky. The chance of success was small, and the chance of Luna and the dragons being destroyed was large. Victoria looked at Luna and asked her if she was certain about this plan. Luna said that she was not certain about anything, but she was certain that the current situation would lead to human defeat if nothing changed. The humans had been losing this battle slowly, and the Krell were getting stronger. If the humans did not take a risk, they would eventually lose everything. Victoria took a deep breath and gave her permission. She told Luna to find the Krell command ship and destroy it. She told her to use whatever methods were necessary. Luna understood that Victoria had just put the fate of the human species, and perhaps the fate of all peaceful civilizations, into her hands. Luna flew her ship deeper into the Krell formation, with Vera and Iris following close behind her. She used her elf senses and her knowledge of ancient texts to try to locate the command ship. The Krell were designed to be difficult to read, difficult to understand, but Luna had learned that command ships always had certain characteristics. They were always larger than other vessels. They had more protective shielding. They were always positioned in the safest part of the formation. After searching for several minutes, Luna spotted it. The largest Krell vessel she had ever seen, positioned in the very center of the fleet. It was protected by at least 20 smaller Krell ships. Getting close to it seemed impossible. But Luna was an elf, and the dragons with her were creatures of ancient magic and power. She believed that if 3 beings could work together with perfect unity and perfect trust, they could accomplish the impossible. Luna contacted Vera and Iris through their bond. She shared her plan with them. She would fly her ship directly at the Krell command ship, drawing the attention of the protective fleet. Vera and Iris would move around the formation, using their speed and agility to get into position. When the moment was right, they would strike together at the command ship's core systems. Vera and Iris agreed to the plan. Luna could feel their determination and their trust in her. They knew this was dangerous. They knew they might die, but they also knew that this was what they had been born to do. This was their purpose. Luna accelerated her ship toward the Krell formation, and the protective ships around the command vessel began to move to intercept her. The first shots came from the protective ships. Luna moved her ship in wild patterns, avoiding the worst of the fire, using her superior elf reflexes to stay alive. Explosions filled the space around her. Her shields flashed red as they absorbed damage. The human radio came alive with voices calling out warnings and encouragement. Victoria was watching everything from Station 9, and she was managing the human fleet to try to give Luna and the dragons the best chance of success. Luna could see Vera and Iris moving through the chaos, flying with incredible speed and precision. They dodged between Krell ships, moved under and over the protective formation. They were getting closer to the command ship. The Krell seemed to realize what was happening, and they began to focus their fire on the dragons. But Vera and Iris were too fast. They moved like liquid silver and golden light through the darkness of space. Luna's ship took a massive hit, and alarms began to sound in her command center. Her shields were failing. She knew that she did not have much time before her ship was completely destroyed. She pushed the engines to maximum power and flew directly toward the command ship. At the same moment, Vera and Iris reached their attack positions on either side of the Krell vessel. Luna fired everything her ship had, using weapons that human engineers had fitted into her vessel. The shots tore into the command ship's outer hull. At the same moment, Vera and Iris unleashed their fire. The two dragons breathed simultaneously, their combined flames creating a wave of pure energy that burned through the Krell vessel's protective shields like they were paper. The command ship's core systems began to fail. Luna could see the internal explosions through her view screens. The ship was dying, but more importantly, Luna could feel something happening through her connection to the Krell network. The Krell command structure was failing. The fleet was becoming confused and disorganized. Luna pulled her damaged ship away from the command vessel and accelerated back toward the human fleet. Vera and Iris flew alongside her, their bodies moving through the empty space with perfect grace. Behind them, the largest Krell command ship exploded in a cascade of energy and light. The explosion was so massive that it illuminated the entire sector of space like a new star being born. For a moment, everything was silent. Then Luna heard Victoria's voice on the radio, calling out orders to the human fleet. The Krell ships were panicking, scattering, beginning to fire on each other. Without their command structure, without their central intelligence coordinating their actions, the Krell fleet was falling apart. The human ships began to advance, destroying the confused and disorganized Krell vessels one after another. Luna felt something inside her relax. They had done it. The victory was not complete, but the tide had turned. The humans were winning now. The Krell Empire's assault had been broken. The galaxy would be safe, at least for now. When Luna's damaged ship finally docked at Station 9, Victoria was waiting for her in the landing bay with a group of human soldiers. Luna stepped out of her ship slowly, her body exhausted from the intense battle and the stress of combat. But when she saw Victoria's face, when she saw the human commander smiling with genuine happiness and gratitude, Luna felt her strength return. Victoria walked forward and embraced Luna, holding her like a sister rather than an ally from another species. The human commander told her that she had done something incredible, something that would be remembered for generations. The Krell fleet was in complete chaos now. They were retreating. More human reinforcements were arriving from other sectors of space. The immediate threat to human civilization had been ended. But more than that, something greater had begun. Vera and Iris landed in the hangar nearby, and the dragons walked through the bay with the pride of warriors who had won a great victory. The human soldiers stared at them with a mix of fear and admiration. These were no longer creatures of mythology or legend. These were allies who had fought alongside humanity and had proven their courage and their power. Victoria brought Luna to a communication chamber and showed her messages that were coming in from across human space. Other commanders and leaders were asking who the elf woman was, where the dragons had come from, and how they could arrange alliances with these powerful new allies. Victoria told Luna that she had just changed the course of human history. The age of isolation was over. The humans would no longer fight alone, but Luna knew that her own people also needed to know what had happened. She had to contact the Elf Council and tell them about the victory and about the dragons. She composed a message to her parents and to the council, explaining everything that had occurred. She told them about the ancient dragon eggs, about the threat from the Krell, and about how she had fought alongside humans and dragons to protect the galaxy. The response from the Elf Council came within a few hours. The council members were shocked and amazed by what Luna had done. Some of them were angry that she had hidden such an important discovery, but most of them understood the gravity of the situation. The council announced that the elves would begin discussions with the humans about forming a formal alliance. The age of elf isolation was ending. Over the next few weeks, Luna spent her time helping to coordinate between the human and elf civilizations. She worked with Victoria and other human commanders to plan how the combined forces could pursue the remaining Krell and ensure that they did not return. She worked with elf council members to help them understand human culture and human values. She became a bridge between two species that had been separated for so long. But Luna also spent time with Vera and Iris, training them and helping them adjust to their new role as celebrated warriors. The dragons had become famous across human space. Everyone wanted to see them, wanted to learn about them, wanted to know their story. Children across human colonies drew pictures of the silver and gold dragons. Stories were told about the elf woman who had brought dragons to save humanity from destruction. One day, Victoria asked Luna what she planned to do now that the battle was over. Luna told her that she had no idea. She had left her people with the intention of finding the dragons and maybe helping humanity if she could. But now everything had changed. She had a family in Vera and Iris. She had friends in Victoria and the human soldiers. She had a connection to both the elf civilization and the human civilization. She did not know where she belonged anymore. Victoria smiled and told Luna that perhaps that was the point. Perhaps Luna did not have to choose one home or one people. Perhaps her home could be the space between civilizations, the connection that held them together, the bridge that allowed different species to understand and trust each other. Victoria suggested that Luna consider staying at Station 9, working as an ambassador and liaison between the Elf Council and Human Command. Luna thought about this suggestion for a long time. That night, she sat alone with Vera and Iris on the highest platform of Station 9, looking out at the stars. She could see the damaged Krell ships being repaired and prepared for human study. She could see human ships moving through space in coordinated formations. She could see the beginning of a new era for the galaxy. Through their bond, Luna shared her thoughts with Vera and Iris. She told them that she was thinking about accepting Victoria's suggestion. She told them that staying would mean leaving behind the comfortable sky cities of her people. It would mean choosing to live among danger and uncertainty. But it would also mean that they could continue to protect others, continue to fight against threats to peace and freedom. Vera and Iris pressed their heads against Luna's body, showing her their agreement and their support. The dragons did not care where they lived as long as they could stay together with Luna. The dragons had been born for this, to fight alongside those who believed in protecting the innocent. Everything Luna had done, everything she had sacrificed had been leading to this moment. The next morning, Luna accepted Victoria's offer. She would stay at Station 9 as an ambassador and liaison. She would work with both the human fleet and the Elf Council to build a lasting peace and alliance. She would use her unique position to help bridge the gap between the two civilizations. More importantly, she would use her connection to the dragons to make sure that other species would learn about the power of cooperation and alliance. Victoria arranged a formal ceremony to recognize Luna's service and her commitment to humanity. The human soldiers, the elf representatives who had arrived at the station, and leaders from several human colonies all attended the ceremony. Luna stood with Vera and Iris beside her, and she felt a sense of purpose and peace that she had never known before. As Luna watched the sun setting over the edge of Station 9, she thought about her grandmother and the message she had left behind. Her grandmother had known that someday, someone would need to find the dragons. Her grandmother had trusted that when the moment came, someone would be brave enough to accept that responsibility. Luna understood now that she was the someone her grandmother had been waiting for. The dragons had won Luna's life, but Luna had also won the dragons' lives. Together, the three of them had won a victory that would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. And as the stars came out one by one in the darkness above, Luna felt Vera and Iris moving closer to her, their silver and gold scales reflecting the starlight. They were a family, and they had found their place in a galaxy that needed them.